In today's video, you're going to meet my friend Michael. Michael had traveled halfway around the world to be with a girl that he had been in a long-distance relationship with. Things went very, very different from what he had envisioned, and he ended up finding himself out here in a strange country, pretty much alone. This ultimately led to him being in a little bit of a dark place. So listen to Michael's story today of how he coped with this situation, how he picked himself up and ultimately made this journey an amazing success. How did you meet the person that you ultimately got into LDR with and ultimately came out here to meet?
So basically, this individual was interviewed by a local blogger in the Philippines, and when I came across it and I decided, okay, I'm gonna click, and I watched it. And after listening to her testimony, basically interview, this Filipino was interested in meeting a foreigner. And, she talked a lot about herself, what she was looking for, her life, her job and everything. And after I saw the video, I was thinking to myself, well, there's probably going to be a lot of other people showing interest in this individual. So reaching out to her or whatnot, and they did leave a way to contact the individual, which was through Facebook.
Okay.
So, at the same time, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, do I even want to bother reaching out to this individual, because there's going to be so many other people.
Yeah.
I mean, and it would be it would be difficult for me to stand out amongst, like, what could I possibly say that would separate me from everybody else? And, the normal things that everybody says, oh yeah, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that. But that's not me, and I wasn't going to say something that I know everybody else is going to say. And honestly, if I remember correctly, I just said something basically simple to the fact that, I really enjoyed your video, and it was short and sweet. I didn't say, hey, if you want to, I didn't really say anything. I just said I liked your video, and and I liked what you had to say, or how you just, something to that effect. But it was nothing like, maybe other people would try to flatter the individual. And then shortly after that, maybe within a day or two, the individual reached back out to me on Facebook Messenger. And then that's kind of how the initial, the beginning of getting to know her started. It was just messaging back and forth. She asked me to, now I had my photos posted, but those don't, nobody feels secure in those. So she's like, hey, do you mind sending me a picture of yourself? Like, take a picture of yourself right now and send it to me. And I was like, okay. And then, so I did several, like, right at that time and moment, so she could at least feel like she could trust who she saw in the photos was truly me.
Right.
So, she did her due diligence, making sure, being safe, being smart, which I would have done the same thing.
Right. Anyway, so you got into this long-distance relationship that went on for about 3-4 months, and then you came out here. You were going to come to the Philippines anyway, but now you had another reason to come here. So you came out here to meet her. And again, I'm rushing through this part because it's all on my wife's video, so they can check that out if they want to see it. What I want to get to is, first of all, this relationship didn't work out, and it puts you in a bit of a dark place. And this is what I want you to share with the viewers, because you shared with me a little bit about what you went through and how you got out of it, and I find it a little inspirational and also something I can relate to. So let's just go to that point. Relationship, as you realize this is not going to work, you've ended it, and tell the viewers how what you went through, how you were really feeling, and how you managed to get yourself back on track.
I guess the best place to start, like, when I started feeling, I got to a point, and I'm not here to, like, talk bad about another individual, because that's just not who I am. You can say I ended it, you can say she ended it, you can say it was a mutual parting of ways. Yeah. It really doesn't matter. It wasn't going to work. It wasn't meant to be. It's unfortunate. You know, I hope for the best of her. That's just me. So, but that being said, with everything that happened to me, I was devastated and hurt. As I mentioned to your wife in the other, you know, interview, yeah, there's no way of spinning it. I traveled halfway around the world for somebody. I put a lot of faith in my decision to come here. Like I said, I always planned to come to the Philippines, but
Right.
she was, this other individual was the person that gave me the final push to do it. And
Right.
yeah, you don't just fly halfway around the world for just anybody.
No.
I believed in it. I had feelings that had grown over the time getting to know her prior to coming to the Philippines. So ending it was not easy. It was very hard. I had feelings for her. Simple as that.
Yeah, well, you've been in a several-month relationship with her online and talking pretty much. Was it almost every day you were talking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, you know, you start, as hard as it and crazy as it sounds, you start to build a bond with that
Sure.
person. Even if it's only, like I said, messaging to video chat, you build a bond. It's hard, it's difficult. You know, so letting that go and dealing with the depression, I felt hopeless. And as I said before, my confidence was shattered. I felt like I made a mistake. I just found every reason to talk down on myself as a failure. And maybe that's just the easy way for me to, thought it was the easy way to cope. Is just kind of, I know I've kind of maybe always been hard on myself, but that's kind of what I did. And then, you know, but then it started to change me as a person, not in a positive way. Like I was down, I wasn't myself. I mean, I always felt sad. I felt hopeless. And, you know, many times I woke up, wanted to buy a plane ticket and go home and
Sure.
quit. But as we talked about before, I felt like, you know, I'm not a quitter. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go home as a failure, back home to the United States as a failure. And so finally, you know, with all the help of, with you, your wife, everybody being friends that I've met here, have been like completely supportive of me. Finally, I like, felt that wasn't working. And I don't know what came over me other than the fact that I'm having these conversations with God and looking for help and looking for guidance, but this time it was like different, and I just felt like I needed to do something different, not to hurt anybody's feelings. And, you know, as we said, you know, like you felt I was ignoring you and everybody, but I felt like I had to just be alone, completely alone, other than my normal routine of getting up and living life, eating, feeding myself, exercising, all that stuff, enjoying the Philippines as best I can, but alone. Completely alone, and I just I surrendered myself to God. I really literally just, you know, crying and just said, I need your help. I need it now, and I whatever it takes, you know, this is it. This is the time for me. I need to do this. I want to move on, and I feel like this time in my life, I just need more direction, and I don't think I was going to get it from anybody other than God. So that's what I decided to do. And as I previously mentioned to you and Leah before, I had no idea how long this was going to take, just separating myself from everybody and not going into coffee shops and chatting with my friends. I would get an easy coffee somewhere else, in and out. And like I said, I was alone and did a lot of walking, a lot of prayer, but a lot of communicating with God, you know, just about my life. And sometimes I'd be sitting at a random wherever, looking at the ocean with crying, tears running out my eyes, asking him for help. You know, I felt alone. But that's what I think I needed. You know, I just think I needed to depend on nobody but God, because like I said, the old way wasn't working, dependent on all my friends, because I kept repeating myself and reliving the pain and the nightmare of that relationship that hurt me a lot. But it would probably, you know, people, and I don't want to skip over this part because I think a lot of people don't realize everybody gets hurt in relationships. but we don't all fly halfway around the world for somebody. It's so different. It's so hard to overcome that when you put your heart and soul and everything, and I did something for that individual that I've never done for anyone, you know.
Yeah.
Never did it for anyone. It's halfway around the world. It's not just that simple.
Right.
So that's why I felt so low and down on myself, and that's why I felt like I needed to really, really reach out to God. And like I said, all along I have been close to God, but never this close. You know, mother and father did not know what I was going through. I didn't want to tell them, you know, and so I did communicate with them during this it ended up being like almost 10 days of isolation alone, but I never once told them what was going on. And that time, like I said, was I don't know how to explain it. Like I felt myself after like the third day, I felt myself like the weight was being lifted off of me. Being alone was like, and communicating with God, like the weight was being lifted off of me. Like I wasn't crying as much. I wasn't sad as much. And you would think, maybe some people would think being alone would be more depressing, more of a struggle. Like it'd be more easier just to grab onto your friends and cry on their shoulder versus being alone, you know, but I was willing to do it. So like it was like the third day or fourth day, somewhere right around there, the crying was less and less. The beginning was the worst, the first 3 days, and it got less and less. And then that's when I just felt like something inside me was just saying, Michael, you're going to be okay. You're going to, you know, give yourself to me and I'll give all of me to you. And it was kind of like, because all I could give God is my heart. And, you know, and a lot of people say, well, that's all that God wants, you know, and that's what I ended up doing. Like I was okay and content with the fact that if I'm going to be in the Philippines, because I do truly love it here and enjoy it, I'm okay with living in the Philippines by myself, if that's what it means.
During this approximately 10-day period of time where you were really shutting yourself off from everybody and everything except God, you had the emotions and the tears and you're crying, I get that. But how did the surrendering to God part work? Because I've done that, you know, I went through a similar experience, and for me it was, I literally fell on my knees and I just decided, God, I'm done with the way I'm living my life. I don't want to continue. I'm right at this moment now. I'm giving myself to you. I'm surrendering to you. I'm going to change. I'm going to try and let your will be done for me. And I made that decision. And it was a moment. You know, it didn't happen over several days. It was I made that decision. I'm surrendering to God fully, 100%, and I'm not going back. It's my decision. How did this work for you? Because as I listened to your story, it sounds more like your surrendering was not a moment like I had, but maybe it was over several days of feeling close to God and feeling Him talking to you, or maybe you felt like He was saying, I'm here for you, just give yourself to me. Was it a long process, a several day process of surrendering, or did you have a moment like I kind of had?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it physically brought me to my knees, but I was like brought to my knees, although I didn't physically go to my knees, you know, like now, I mean, I would be late nights walking here in the Philippines doing get like I didn't care, like I didn't want to isolate myself in my apartment. I didn't want to be there alone because that just gave me too much of an opportunity to still sulk and stay in that moment of feeling bad about myself. So when I said I was walking, it wasn't just during the day, it was into late at night. Like I would basically exercise to the point where I was so tired that I had no choice. But when I did return to my apartment, I would just go to sleep, and it wouldn't give me time to lay there awake thinking about things, you know. So I just felt like God was just I don't know, gave me this strength to just keep doing, pushing myself and pushing myself and pushing myself to the point where I was literally exhausted,
Yeah.
you know. And then, like I said, between that and as each day went by, I started feeling less and less sad.
Right.
The sadness started to go away. And to me, that was like the biggest sign to me. Like I started noticing, like, if I would reflect on what happened to me, I wouldn't cry anymore. I had like a more of a positive outlook, or I just didn't have a negative reaction, response to my reflection on what had happened. But I was also thinking less and less about it also.
Yeah. Would it be fair to say that at the end of this period of time where you were alone and in prayer, and would it be fair to say that at the end of that, say, 10-day period, you felt like, I've surrendered to Christ?
Yeah.
And how did you feel after you decided to come back into to the world and get back into, you know, meeting with your friends? And how did you feel like a huge weight had been lifted off you? How would you describe your feeling when you know now, wow, I've just really rededicated my life to Christ. I've surrendered to Christ. How did that make you feel at that point?
It was like a reset of a feeling, like, you know, like, I wouldn't necessarily say clean slate, because it's still, what happens to you is still in the back of your mind, but it wasn't like as a negative or traumatic feeling as what I felt before when I'd reflect on it. So yes, I felt like the weight was definitely lifted off of me, but it was almost like I just felt energized in a way, is the best way to explain it. It was like a new me almost, which surprised myself. It's almost like it's very difficult to even explain into words other than saying the normal things that everybody has heard people talk about, but it's much different to actually put into words when you kind of experience what I feel that I experienced was like a very life-changing moment. Like, it was very, it's like unexplainable. It really is. Other than you feel a presence, you feel more confident, and like I said, I had lost my confidence.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I have a confidence, because no matter what is put in front of me, I know God's got my back.
Right.
He's in me.
Right.
Like, I didn't feel worried anymore. I just didn't feel worried anymore.
So how would you describe your life? You're still here in the Philippines. How has it been since that moment? And how would you describe what God's done for you in the last few weeks since that point where you really got into a closer relationship with Him?
Well, I kind of just made this agreement, you can say, with God, where I kind of just said, if somebody's meant to be in my life, great. If not, I will also accept that as well. But I said, all I ask for is, if someone is meant to be in my life, if I'm meant to meet someone while I'm here or not here, anywhere, all I would want is somebody that has a duplicate heart to mine. That's really all I wanted. Someone who matched my personality, who but it's just the heart thing. Honestly, that's really all I wanted, was somebody with a good heart. There's no other way to put it, because as most people know, in the Philippines, there's a lot of beautiful women. But again, all that doesn't matter. I mean, attraction is one thing, but the person inside is truly, truly what matters. So that's what I kind of said, made an agreement with God in a way, like, if you are going to put somebody in my life, that's what I would want, just somebody with a good heart. So I'd say, not all that long ago, I mean, when I kind of broke out of my isolation period, within a few days after that, is, as we mentioned in your wife's video, I reached out to you wanting to talk. I just felt like this desire, urgency. You are a good friend, but I also just felt like I need to talk with you, more or less to share my experience as well, but I needed to talk to you. And then it was within a day after when I mentioned about meeting with you, whenever it was convenient with you, that's when I had gotten a message, a friend request on Facebook. And typically, you know, you can get friended by many people on Facebook because that's, yeah, the algorithm and who you know and connections with everybody. So I wasn't even sure that I would accept this person's friend request because so many of them are, some are real people, some are not. I mean, maybe I just wasn't even interested and ready to meet anybody anyway. And then for whatever reason, when I looked at this person's profile, they were connected to you and Leah as friends. And, you know, as I said, when I saw that she was friends with you, I felt comfortable that it was okay. And I just felt inside, it's okay, accept their friend request. So then I accepted her friend request. And then shortly after that, she liked one of my photos. And I'm like thinking to myself, something about her, I don't know, not knowing anything about her other than she's connected to you and Leah, I felt like maybe I should reach out to this person since she reached out to me. And I remember just sending her a message on Facebook Messenger because I don't normally do that. But I said, I did kind of said the same thing. I don't know you very well, obviously, and I don't normally make this kind of approach to meet somebody, but I said I saw that you were friends with Leah and Gary, and then she had said she did, and then that's kind of how things got rolling, you know, communicating with her. And it was a very different, overwhelming situation in a good way because I never expected to meet somebody that I felt so comfortable with very quickly, like felt like I've known her longer than I had. But you know, you could tell right away she had a good heart. And then that's kind of when my mind was like, wow, I just thought about it. I'm like, it's kind of what, not knowing if that was what's going to happen with her, but I remembered how I said to God, if there's anything, any person I was supposed to meet, I just wish she would have a good heart.
And she does.
Yeah.
And it's all going extremely well.
Yes.
I think that God had a plan for you and has made this happen for you. This was your reason for coming here. And as we promised on the video we did on my wife's channel, we're going to be doing a follow-up video at the right time.
Yeah.
And reveal who this wonderful person is. And hopefully you're going to have a wonderful success story to share with us, which, again, we're not going to rush to do this because we want to, you know, make sure, give it a little more time.
Right.
And then that should be a fun interview. Look forward to that.
I look forward to it too, and I'm sure she looks forward to it as well.
Yeah, no, God is good, and He's got you through some difficult times. And, you know, I think the message we want to be able to give people here is, you know, if you put your trust and your faith in God, you can get through anything. And when you do put your trust and faith in God, He'll give you back more than you can even imagine. He'll just do things for you. He'll answer your prayers. He'll do things for you.
And another thought I wanted to mention, if it's
Please,
okay,
of course.
before we end this, is that all along I had thought the reason why I was meant to come to the Philippines is because God led me here. Mm-hmm. And then after everything that happened to me in a not so positive light, that's when I kind of started having doubts, like thinking was I wrong thinking that God wanted me here? But sometimes when you think you're supposed to do something or go somewhere, or something's supposed to happen for a certain reason, maybe the reasons are completely opposite. But I do believe that God did want me to come here because I'm learning that not only because of the other Filipina that I met, but because of the friendships that I made with good people like yourself, your wife, and several other people that I could name that I've met that have been very supportive and loving, and they've been instrumental and they've guided me through this whole thing. So basically my point is that there is a reason for everything, and I think God is involved in everything.
Yes.
It's just a matter of you allowing, whether or not you allow God to be involved in it or not.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened to me.
Michael, thank you for that, and thank you for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
And thank you guys for watching. And go ahead and check out the video link I'm going to put in the description below for the video you did with my wife, and actually it was my wife and me, and it was a good interview. So go ahead and check that out. You get more of the details on the relationship stuff. So and of course check out my wife's channel. The link is also in the description. Thanks guys for watching. God bless everybody, and goodbye.